Hi, how's it going? My name's TGH, and this is submission number 1 for me for AGDQ 2019. This is Celeste, and I'm going to be submitting any percent. This is going to be any percent current patch. There's a distinction now between current patch and any patch. Any patch allows some glitches, which I'm going to be submitting current patch. Current patch right now is 1.2.4.1. This will inevitably change by the time AGDQ 2019 rolls around. I wouldn't be surprised if we were on a significantly later patch than this. I currently hold the world record for this category. World record is 29 minutes and 55 seconds in-game time. Typically, real time is about 3 minutes longer than in-game time. I'll be basing my estimate off that. My estimate will be about 38 minutes. I figure that's pretty safe. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So the main thing about Celeste is a momentum-based platformer. You have Madeline, the main character, who's climbing this mountain because she feels like she should, looking to overcome some inner demons. Jumping is actually faster here in the prologue, by the way, due to an inherent speed boost you get while jumping. So I mentioned, okay, so we're gonna get our dash mechanic here, and we're gonna combine the dash and the jump mechanic to do some pretty crazy things in this speedrun. As I mentioned, it is a momentum-based platformer. We do a ton of things with this dash and the jump. The dash mainly to provide momentum, and the jump to conserve it, because you lose speed slower in the air than on the ground. Pretty much, for the most part. As you can see, pretty much right away, I'm going to be utilizing the dash and the jump very often in order to, again, provide and conserve momentum throughout. And City is a little bit of a... City kind of gives you a little bit of everything, taste of everything in the run. Forgive me if I miss anything, because it's very hard to talk and play this game at the same time. So I'm doing things called hyper dashing and jump dashing, or dash canceling, which basically, oops. So we use the dash and then immediately jump in order to keep the momentum we get while dashing. And if you do it while crouched, you get an extra speed boost, as well as an extra little bit of length on your jump. You can see I'm also doing it dashing upwards along walls as well. It works that way too. Little spike jump there with a setup. Neutral wall jumping makes this possible. I missed the little corner boost there. There we go. So you might have noticed as well during some of those jump dashes and hypers, I'm gonna call them hypers for simplicity. So you might have mentioned that on a lot of those, I was getting my dash back mid-air. You have a 10 to 15 frame window after dashing to jump to get that effect, and we use that a lot, actually. And if you combine that as well with a down diagonal dash, a property of down diagonal dashes actually is that it doesn't cancel momentum like cardinal dashes do. A little bit of a glitch there to skip some platforming, but that was it right there. That little down diagonal dash, that's called an ultra dash. So you have your dash cancels, that's another ultra dash right there. So you have your dash cancels, your hyper dashes, and your ultra dashes. The chapter 2 introduces these little space blocks here. You dash in one end, come out the other. It's pretty simple. And this person, follow me around, is Battle Line. Basically, that's what the devs refer to her as well as most of the fans of the game. Battle Line basically is an incarnation of your inner demons that's basically chasing you around here as you go up the mountains, meant to represent Madeline's self-doubt. Also, I'm gathering these lock switches here, touching them in order to open doors and advance. You might notice here I can actually hyperdash out of dream blocks. It's pretty tight, but I can. And it allows for a little extra speed boost. Be utilizing some ultra dashes here, so you can really see the speed of ultras right there. Nice spring, dude. Yeah, like I said, it's really hard to talk and play this at the same time. Alright, so moving on, Chapter 3 is now going to introduce some cycle-based platforming. The Celestial Resort has a lot of dust bunnies lying around. We're going to meet Mr. Oshiro as well, the owner of the hotel. So you can actually gain your dash transition, excuse me, you can actually gain your dash back via transitioning screens, which is what we did there to skip a bit of platforming, scaling up the hotel. We don't need that berry, it's just for show. That just happens to be the best strat to get through that room. Keys as well, keys unlock doors, pretty simple. You notice these walls with like red hairs on them as well. As soon as you touch these, you can see little dust bunnies form on them. It makes you unable to touch that part of the wall again. Also, dust bunnies are they're moving around in cycles, which makes this part pretty interesting. If you watch different runners do this section, everybody will do it a different way and catch different cycles depending on how aggressively they want to play. But I'm gonna be generally doing the more aggressive strats here. So this room is gonna be a lot less cluttered in a little bit. So this part we have 3 different sections. You can do these in any order, but there's a specific order that we do them in. We go south, north, east, which is the most optimal way to do it. We base it on when Oshiro, or where Oshiro is exactly, when we come back into the huge mess room. I didn't mention as well, you can actually wave dash in this game, much like Super Smash Bros. Melee, if you know the tech in that game at all. Basically, you can... It's hyper dashing from the air, basically, is what it is. It's very useful, much and more optimal in some situations to wave dash rather than to hyper dash. A lot easier to get your dash back mid-air too. The timing is just a little bit more manageable. Some pretty cool strats here to just weave through these guys. Whoa, I didn't maintain my... That was weird. Maintain my velocity there. Oops. So you'll notice I died and the cycles were different. There's 0 RNG in the speedrun, but when you die and spawn in a screen rather than entering it, it's actually a different cycle, so you need to be mindful of that and do a different strat to avoid the cycle. Nice. I went right underneath the key. Alright, so that is a huge mess section. Forgot to mention too, these green crystals help you regain your dash mid-air. Normally you don't gain your dash back until you touch the ground, but if you touch a crystal, they give you your dash back. So cool little room here. I'm going to be hypering 4 times off of these sinking platforms to grab that key, self-destruct, and get back to the beginning of the room. Alright, so we're about to meet Mr. Oshiro, his bad side. He's going to be chasing us across the roof of the hotel. So yeah, we left him a pretty bad review, and now he's really mad. So he's just gonna chase across. Whoops, that's not how to do this room. He's gonna chase us across the roof of this hotel. So again, cycle-based, but there's more of a focus on the strats themselves and the cycles, since they do start on screen entry. They're not global. This screen flies by, if I do it correctly. Alright, there we go. That is Celestial Resort. Alright, Chapter 4 is going to introduce some new mechanics as well. Hope I haven't missed anything, but I probably have. It's inevitable. This game goes by very quickly. So Chapter 4 is going to introduce a couple new mechanics. Clouds, which you see right here, they basically act as trampolines. Bubbles, which basically act as an extra mid-air dash for you. Cool strat here if I can get it. I missed it. But you can actually do something called corner boosting off of that. I'll explain that when I inevitably do it. Or mess it up, one or the other. Also, wind. Wind is the last mechanic I wanted to mention. Wind is pretty self-explanatory, but it does not affect you while you're dashing. That strat there is harder than it looks. Trust me. Neutral jumping there to just climb up that wall without using any stamina. Spike jump there. I did that in Chapter 3 as well, but I didn't actually mention it because I was too busy explaining huge mess mechanics. But basically, the way spike jumping in this game works, it's not actually spike jumping, you're jumping off the wall, and when you move away from spikes in this game, they don't actually have a hitbox, so they don't touch you. And so you use the wall behind the spikes to just jump off. You can still jump off the wall even though you're moving away from it. Hitbox is barely big enough for you to do that. Cool strat there, a little bunny hop off of the block. I actually discovered that strat at AGDQ. However, I did not find most of these strats. These strats have all been a huge community effort, which I have been a tiny part. So shoutouts to everyone in the community for finding everything that is done today in the speedrun. Alright, so this is Cliff Face. Cliff Face gets really intense. Heavy wind on every screen pretty much. And the strats get that more intense as well. Hyper dashing becomes all the more important, since I did mention that dashing against the wind actually does not let the wind affect you. So we need to keep that up. Trust me, that's a lot more reliable than it looks. Oops. This is the last screen. Alright, there we go. So that was a pretty decent Chapter 4. I would take that in a run, for sure. At least right now I would. I don't know about AGDQ, but... Alright, Chapter 5. Once again, introducing more mechanics. Right away, when we were going to see platforms in like the third room here that are going to move upon our dashing. Like that. And we can rely on that. These red bubbles as well are like the blue bubbles in Chapter 4, except they extend infinitely until you hit something or dash out of them. Neat little skip here to skip a red bubble on the left side that we normally need to take over there, but we can just skip that with a reverse hyper dash, which is essentially the same as a regular hyper dash, except we except we dash the other way first and then jump the other way. I'm gonna try a strat here, see if this works. And we got it. We got the yeet strat. That is something I like to call the yeet. Or it's more commonly known as a depth corner boost, but it's pretty significant. It saves 3 seconds because you can skip the entire next room, pretty much. Whoops, that was unintentional. Alright, so now Mal's gonna enter this kind of dream sequence once again, just like Chapter 2. I was just gonna enter this mirror, which we skipped the cutscene for, and you get to take control of the Seeker for a little bit, which is really, it's a really unique game design, really genius, honestly, in my opinion. This part's designed to teach you, like, exactly what the Seeker does, how it works, what it does. Basically, it kills you. Is the main point of what the game is trying to get across. Skipping cutscenes is literally impossible. There we go. Alright, this part looks pretty cool as well. Unraveling is one of my favorite parts of the run, personally. Whoops. Well, you didn't see it there, but unique property of these Seekers is that they can actually collect coins for you. We're gonna see it on this screen right here. If I can do the strat properly, and there we go. You just kick him right in there. There we go, little bait. This screen is probably one of the most important in Chapter 5. Because one little mistake can lose you a lot of time, but we did that pretty cleanly there. That was pretty good. Alright, coming up now on something called Search Skip. So we... up here is a section with a bunch of keys that we need to unlock a red bubble that takes us all the way across here. Just kidding, we can skip that. That is actually a developer-intended skip. That saves probably between a minute and a minute and a half of collecting keys and other gameplay that we could have done over there, but we didn't. Whoops. Alright, so now we basically come across a sort of escort mission. This here's our friend Theo. And we're gonna be taking him out of the temple. Ultra dashing comes in really handy here. It's very fast. As you can see, you can't dash with Theo, so you need to actually be able to build up momentum and then catch him. You can keep the momentum throughout. So that is basically, whoops, I did press buttons in the wrong order there. That is basically, I did the same thing. There we go. So that's basically the gist of the Theo section. Oh, God, it's bad. Yeah, I actually wanted to die there so I could show you the proper way to do that. There we go. Alright, and that is Chapter 5. Okay. 0.000, that's pretty rare, actually. This game runs at 61 FPS. To my knowledge, it's locked at 61, and so each frame takes precisely 0.017 seconds. So that is pretty rare to get. Falls on a multiple of 0.017. Alright, Chapter 7 introduces these feathers. Some of them you need to break a bubble to get to, but they basically make you fly in any direction in a certain amount of time. That was Lake Skip right there. Everything just goes by so fast in this game. I was supposed to take one of these blocks, which we affectionately refer to as Kevin blocks. We name them after Kevin or Gamey. Shoutouts to Kevin. He voiced them. Made the sound effects for them. So chapter 6, Madeline essentially got knocked off the mountain by her own inner demons, and now she's basically just traveling along herself to try and find anything to tell her what to do. And at the end of this chapter, spoilers, she's gonna find Battleline and confront her. But first we have a little bit of platforming to do, about 3 minutes of it. So I take it it's pretty obvious what the bumpers do. I don't think I need to go too far into that. There are some kind of unique properties to them though, like for instance, if you're holding in the opposite direction, when you hit a bumper, you will fly about twice as far. And we're gonna use that in this coming screen right here in order to skip the second one, like that. It can be pretty tricky, but it's not that bad. I'm gonna try a swag strat here. Hope nobody minds. We don't need that feather. Alright, now begins the descent. So there are a couple of dev-intended shortcuts right here, which we can use to basically just get on down to this lake area here. The first two, one of those have setups, so they're not that bad, but the third one does not, and we need to sort of sneak our way down. This here's Big Kevin. Alright, so I'm gonna do something called Battle and Boost here. It's the hyper and a bunny hop. Straight in, if we do it correctly, we can just get all the way to Battlein, which is really nice. Alright, so each time you hit Battlein, it's basically a cutscene playing. It knocks you back in a fixed direction, depending on where she is. It's like each time it'll knock you back a certain direction. It's not up to you. Yeah, she fires balls at you, she fires lasers at you later on. Generally, we don't have to worry about her projectiles that much if we do the fight properly. This strat's cool. Yeah, so this section is just all about movement. And if you move properly, you shouldn't have to worry about it. The end of this screen has a really cool reverse ultra, which hopefully I'm not going to screw up. Alright, nice, I got it. Sweet. So that's a reverse hyper dash followed by an immediate ultra dash to sneak in between the spikes. Bunny hop to hit her. Easy stuff. I'm going to try one here too. It sort of worked. Okay. So the last screen coming up is extremely punishing if you die. It is very long. Right here, so it takes some smooth feather movement to be able to avoid these lasers, but it's generally Not a big deal. And a nice little ultra dash to end that section. So now we have 2 dashes, you might have noticed. We have leveled up officially. So we have 2 dashes, and we're going to use them quite a bit, as you might imagine. That was actually a pretty good chapter 6. That was pretty clean for the most part. Alright, so chapter 7 is the summit. So this is the part where Madeline basically reclimbs the mountain. You'll notice that besides for this part, we'll see a lot of recurring atmospheres and themes and mechanics throughout that happened in chapters 1 through 6. Excuse me, 1 through 5. Not 1 through 6. And then the final climb at the end, once we reach 3,000 meters. That's not the way you're supposed to do that. Don't tell anyone. The end of each section, battle one just kind of throws you up to the next one. So this is the area that sort of resembles City, with these zippers. If you remember these zippers, we don't use that one. But we do use this one. Not really in a way that's intended, but we do use it. I'm gonna use this one normally. And we're gonna use this one normally. But we're not gonna use any of these springs. At least not those first 2. I didn't mention bunny hopping, by the way. So bunny hopping is a really good way to preserve your momentum, but also get full height jumps when you need to. It's really useful, especially through screen transitions. Reintroduction of dream blocks, which you're going to be hypering out of a lot more here. I mentioned you can hyper out of dream blocks. You can also jump out of them, but I like hypering out of them because it's faster. Like that. Corner boost there to get up. And there we go, on to 1500. 1500 I consider, honestly, to be the hardest part of the entire speedrun, at least the strats I use. I go for some pretty tight strats here. Like that one. This is one of the hardest screens in the whole game right here if you go for the optimal cycle. There we go. Oh, that wasn't good. This screen looks really cool as well. Heavy use of ultra dashes in that screen. This I like to call the Franker Z room. Alright, on to 2000. 2000 also has a lot of long screens, some auto-scrollers that we skip parts of because we can. I'm gonna try my best to take this berry all the way to the end of 2000, by the way. Oh no, I lost it. Okay, whatever, it's fine. Yep, so we can skip about half of this auto-scroller by just kind of doing that. Extended hypering off the block, and then a little nudge there, we can, a little nook there, where we can vertical hyper up off of. Skip a little bit of that one too. Whoops. So don't activate any of these blocks. Except this one. Alright, that is that. Alright, so on to 2500. 2500 resembles Mirror Temple. Reintroduces a lot of the mechanics here. This is one of my favorite parts of the run. Whoops. That's not how you're supposed to do that, but whatever. So this is called Key Skip right here. You can actually wall bounce off of that. There's a little piece of wall that you can go ahead and just neutral jump off of. It's pretty convenient. Fun fact, you can't do it on the other side of the room. But you can, it's just a lot more difficult and it's done in a different way. Alright, so I'm gonna do something called Door Skip here. A lot of people like to meme about this skip, but whoops. Whatever. A lot of people like to meme about door skip. It saves 1 second rather than hitting the switches on the ceiling. Don't believe anyone else what they tell you. It only saves a second. Alright, so here we have basically the finale of the speedrun. So this 3000 is a pretty vertical section. We're going to be using wall bounces, vertical hypers an awful lot, especially since this wind is going to be coming straight down on me, just like in real life. And like I said in Chapter 4, wind actually doesn't affect you when you're dashing, so I'm going to be dashing a lot and using dash momentum a lot. Dash momentum including vertical hypers and wall bounces. The same thing, by the way. So it's just I interchange them for no reason, but they are the same trick. All right, so now the wind switches around and is going straight up again, just like in real life. So now we're all floaty. It's basically an underwater level, or that's what it feels like. I don't really have much else to say about this section other than here's a little neutral wall bounce around those spikes right there. I am skipping a couple of these flags. Like, I skipped that one actually by accident. Hopefully I don't die. Alright, we're good. We skip that one. Alright, so we're almost done. We've got about 45 seconds left of the run. So time comes when I reach the flag up at the summit, but we do have some work to do first. Alright, I'm gonna attempt a pretty tight diagonal dash strat right here. And got it, nice. We skip flag 2, don't panic. Leave that to me. Alright, there we go. Oh, okay. Alright, time coming up in like 10 seconds-ish. And that is time. That actually was not a bad run. 33:42 in-game, excuse me, real-time. But that is Celeste. That's the Celeste 90% current patch speedrun. Let's see what the in-game time was. It was probably a 30, I'm guessing. Probably like a mid 30. 30-48. I was close enough. Yeah, that's the run. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you in advance for the consideration. Again, I'm TGH, and this is any% current patch Celeste submission for AGDQ 2019. Thank you very much.